Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and welcome to our coronavirus update, Westchester County. It's the 1 o'clock hour. We're an hour earlier today as we head into Memorial Day weekend, and I'm pleased to be a guest here at the beautiful Mount Kisco Village Hall in the heart of Mount Kisco. And with us today is the mayor of the village. We're going to have her say a few words in a second, the Honorable Gina, who's been a terrific partner and friend during the course of our respective tenures. We visited Mount Kisco earlier so that we could deliver 2,000 masks that have been donated by Hanes Brands Incorporated to the village. And we were also represented by Fran Albanese from the Chamber of Commerce, who was there to be part of the distribution process. And then separately from that, we had Carola Bracco join us from Neighbors Link, which is a major group here in the Mount Kisco area. And we were able to make a donation of 1,000 masks for her. But in each of these different cases, and as we have these updates around the community, you've seen me with Mayor Mike Spano in Yonkers, and Mayor Sean Patterson Howard in Mount Vernon, and some of the other municipalities. We recognize the great leadership that's being shown in every community of this county, and every community is a little bit different. And usually the mayors, the supervisors, the member of the boards understand their communities better than the county does. So we work with our partners and we defer to them, and we try to hopefully be good partners. So Madam Mayor, thank you very much for loaning us your space for a little bit. And it's really a pleasure to be in your nice village.
Well, I thank you very much for being here. We're honored that you came today to deliver the masks. We've been able to this point in time distribute a substantial number of masks across our village. This will enable us to extend that outreach even further. So we really appreciate it. I think it's important that everyone who's watching knows and understands what happens in the background when government works effectively. What you don't see is what's going on a regular basis. And I really have to take a minute to highlight and thank the county executive and his team. All of us at local municipal government have to interpret executive orders, make important decisions that deal with health and safety, that deal with our economy. And it's essential that we all act in a unified way across our county. And it's the leadership of the county executive and his team that have given us the resources, the cooperation, and the ability to work together to do that. So it's important folks know that the leadership in Westchester has brought us to the situation where we are now, that we're getting poised to open. And it's a really incredible thing, considering this is where it all started. I do want to just highlight a couple of things that are happening here in Mount Kisco. I am so blessed to be a part of this community. Folks have come together in a way that we knew was there, but it's extraordinary when you actually see it implemented and illustrated. Northern Westchester Hospital, that has its home here, has been on the front lines of this battle, as have our first responders, our partnership with the Westchester County Police, who are out there every day educating and guiding folks so that they understand what needs to be done to be safe. Our fire department, of course, our volunteer ambulance corps, again, who has been on the front line, have all been extraordinary. But our partnerships also with nonprofits have been so important. Organizations like Feeding Westchester from the county level, but also Neighbors Link, the Boys and Girls Club, the Interfaith Food Pantry. We've coordinated together to ensure that there are set distribution days for food support so that people who are in need know where to go and how to get help. Our businesses have come together, particularly our restaurants, also to provide prepared meals and food support. Most importantly, the people of this community have stepped up to be responsive. And as we look to open, it is going to be incumbent upon all of us to continue on that path and to continue to be accountable for all of our actions. So I just wanted to say I am so grateful for the leadership of the county and the county executive, but also for the extraordinary people that make Mount Kisco the incredible place that it is. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Gina. And we owe a great debt of gratitude to you and the members of your board and to the professional staff here in Mount Kisco Village. there's no question that this community is essential, not just in and of itself, but the regional role that it plays in the northeastern part of Westchester County. 5, 6, 7 communities that pivot around you look at Mount Kisco as their downtown. And the services that are here, the quality of life, all of that is why many people choose to live in Westchester. They come to Westchester, they see a beautiful home in the village or in one of the neighboring towns, and they know that they have these services here, the restaurants here as soon as they open, and which we hope is sooner rather than later. So I'm very much indebted to you and your team. And obviously, because we have a unique relationship with our county police, we want to make sure that we provide you with that local police services that you need, and hopefully we'll be good partners to you going forward.
As you have been to this point in time, I'm sure it will continue on. So we're appreciative.
Thank you very much. It's Mayor Gina Picinich, who is the head of the village of Mount Kisco. And as we do these daily updates, we travel around the county, as you've seen in past weeks. We've been earlier this week with Mayor Mike Spano in Yonkers, last week with Mayor Sean Patterson Howard in Mount Vernon. We've stopped off in Peekskill and Pleasantville and a few other places, and we'll get back to those places because we want to introduce you, those of you who live elsewhere in the county, with the local leadership within the county. You know, the mayors and the supervisors and the other critical people. There's much made about what's happening in Washington, D.C. This is a governmental forum, not a political forum. And much of what happens in Washington, D.C. Shows the differences between political parties and between different philosophies. And those disagreements in philosophy exist here locally as well. But we try very hard not to let them get in the way of the basic job that we have to do. And whether you have Republican or Democratic elected officials, you have different levels of government, we're striving to figure out how can we work together in a productive way. At the end of the day, we know there's no ideology in firefighting. There's no political way to collect the garbage, one way, this way, or the other way, that way. So if we can find ways at our level of governments, at the town, the village, the city, and the county level to cooperate, then we hope that that will be a good foundation for the higher levels of government to work cooperatively. And again, I'm very appreciative to the mayor, members of the Board of Trustees and the professional staff here, and the general village of Mount Kisco, many of the not-for-profit organizations that the mayor highlighted that are very much a part of our world. So it's a pleasure to be here at Mount Kisco for today's update. Statistically, quick update, we continue to see the trends in the same direction as we've had over the last 7 weeks. We peaked in the latter part of March, first week of April, the worst set of numbers, the highest number of overnight fatalities, the highest number of active cases, the steepest rise in the number of hospitalizations, all came in that time frame of the tail end of March and the first week of April. We are now 6, 7 weeks after that as we approach nearly the end of the month of May, and the numbers continue to decrease. The information we have now shows that there are 1,862 active cases of COVID here in the county. That's down about 100 from yesterday at 1,900. And if you go back, we've had a steady, slow decline. That bell curve that goes up is coming down. We passed the point of flattening. We're now in the downslope. And what we hope is that we'll continue to show the metrics that we need to show in order to justify, for the governor's purposes, the ability to open up the Hudson Valley region. It is not just Westchester that has to satisfy the various metrics that are created at the state level, but it's the region that we're in: Westchester, Putnam, Rockland, Dutchess, Orange, Ulster, and Sullivan counties. All of those counties as an aggregate have to show our ability to hold back net hospitalizations, new hospitalizations, reduce the amount of death rate that we have, and also establish a good contact training program, and then maintaining the advantages we have in the number of available hospital beds and also the amount of testing. As of today, Westchester County has tested 133,384 people. That's a tremendous number. That represents 13%, greater than 13% of our population has been tested for COVID virus. And separate and distinct from that, we now have antibody testing going on, both here in Mount Kisco through the Northern Westchester Hospital. They also have a unit down the road in Chappaqua off the Sawmill River Parkway. And then our partner, the Westchester Medical Center, down at the county center, have been testing for antibody tests as well. And that's been made available to first responders and now all essential employees, not just the county government, but the local governments. And I think we're going to be moving on that now to open it up to everybody who wants an antibody testing. And we'll try to provide that information for you. You can look at us online, and we'll try to give you an update on those things. Beyond the numbers, a few other things to mention. We don't need to make this a long report, but this is a weekend where we're making another step forward in the phased opening of county recreational facilities. We've made the point in numerous of these updates that we think there is a role to have targeted recreation that can be socially distanced as a safety valve for people, as a way to express some of the needs they have, and whether it gets warmer, from being in the home almost all the time. And for those people that are home every day, they need a proper outlet. And we've tried to provide that in sequence. We opened up our golf courses, public golf courses, little by little for those that are into golf. We've opened up bicycle Sundays so people can bicycle. We've kept our nature centers open. And there are beautiful parks here in the northern part of the county, in the southern part of the county, on the river, on the Long Island Sound. And so our next step is actually underway today, began 2 hours ago, when we opened up two of our county-owned beaches, Playland Beach and Croton Point Park Beach. They both opened at 11 o'clock this morning. They'll stay open until 6:30 in the evening. And now the weather report for Saturday may be a little iffy. I don't know if we're going to get a good day in or not, but it'll be open on Sunday as well and Monday. So for these 4 days, we're going to close the beaches on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for sure. And we want to make an assessment of how we did, because it's not enough just for us to open the beach. We have to manage the volume at the beach, make sure we stay at least half under the normal capacity. We have to make sure that we're socially distancing and mask wearing where appropriate. You do not need to wear a mask all the time that you're on the beach. If you have a blanket and you're with your immediate family or your significant other on the blanket, you don't have the mask on there. But when you get up, walk across the beach, if you're going to throw something out in the garbage can, if you're going to go out to the car, or you're going to go to the restroom, you have to have the mask on then. And socially distance as is appropriate. Try not to be in large clusters of people that are unmasked. Those are the circumstances by which the virus can spread. If we can manage that over the course of this weekend, then we would plan to keep those two beaches open again next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Normally, we don't open the public beaches during the week until kids are out of school, and that would usually mean the last week of June. But now that there is no school, we'll have a discussion and we'll determine if we can justify that. But we have to make sure that we do the things that are necessary to avoid the spread of the disease. We have lost, as of this morning, 1,319 people to COVID. Now, last night we lost 6 Westchester residents, and that's 6 families that are impacted. The night before that was 8. The night before that was 7. That compares to, in its peak, 45 people, 50 people, 35 people dying. So the amount of fatalities, rate of fatalities is dropping, but there is still a spread of this disease, and we have to deal with it. So as we open up these recreational facilities, if we manage it well, then we'll continue to make sure these things are open. And it's not just these 2 beaches that are open. Now, Bicycle Sunday is canceled for this weekend. It is never operating on Memorial Day weekend. So it has taken a weekend off before it goes back in the following weekend. And the golf courses are open. But we've got all of our parks are open, those that are hiking trails and so forth. But we're watching the same issues: social distancing, people wearing masks, and trying not to overcrowd any of our parks. And so all of our workforce, our Parks Department workforce, our Public Safety Department workforce will be out there to try to enforce this. We are not looking to enforce these laws with a heavy hand. We are not looking to arrest people. We're not looking to write tickets. We want compliance, and not compliance because we want to govern people's lives. I just as much as anybody forget to bring a mask with me when I leave the house. I have to go back and get it. Sometimes I'm in a setting and say, oh, I put my mask on. It's not something we as a culture are accustomed to. And given the fact that I've been around for 66 years, this is an adjustment in the first month of requiring it. But you wear it not to make a statement. You wear it because it protects the other person from what you might discharge. And if I cough or if I sneeze or even just any droplet that comes, if I have the disease, I might infect somebody I'm with. And I don't want to do that, and I don't want to be infected by them. So that's why we're looking for this. And people who assume it means something else are, they're in another place. Right now, all we're trying to do in Westchester County is we want to open up these facilities. We want to do it responsibly. We want people to have the life that they had before this started, but we can't do that until the virus is in remission. And right now, we're in making positive steps. Only a fool would say, oh, we have it under control. No set of human beings can talk about having a virus under control until there's a legitimate vaccine and a legitimate antiviral treatment. But we're trying our best, and that's what we're going to do with our parks this weekend, to give people a proper recreational option and to do that as we begin the summer season. So go to the beaches, enjoy yourself. They have been limited to Westchester only residents. I know some of the folks in New York City have objected to it, but the argument I made is very simple. New York City's leadership has made a decision not to open New York City beaches. That's within their prerogative. But in so doing, if New York City residents were to decide that the beaches of Westchester and Nassau and Suffolk, because they're open, become fair game, we could easily be swamped by the difference in population. And I wouldn't be able to ensure that Westchester people could get on a Westchester beach, the very beaches that their tax that they pay goes to pay for. So we're limiting it. While New York City has a restriction on their beaches, we are limiting who can come to our beaches. Once New York City opens up their beaches to their residents and the residents can go to their beaches, then we have no reason to have a residential restriction on our beaches, and then we'll be able to get back to something close to normal. In addition to this, there's a couple of other bits of news. We've already announced it, but in respect to the things that we're keeping open, there are things that we have decided that we can't do. And we've had to cancel this week, July 3rd fireworks at Kensico Dam Plaza. It's a great experience. We can't do it this year because we can't be sure that people could keep a distance while they're watching a fireworks show. And the same applies the next day on July 4th at Playland. 4th of July, Independence Day without a fireworks show seems sacrilegious. But being intelligent and proper, you can do golf, you can bicycle, you can go to the beach, but you can't have thousands of people clustered together watching a fireworks show. So unfortunately, we made the tough decision to do that. We've also postponed or canceled our ethnic festivals, which will be underway by now at Kensico Dam, so there won't be any of them. There have been none of them there in May. There will be none in June, and to this point, none midway through July. In mid-July or so, we'll see what happens, whether the ethnic festivals can happen. And we're going to be making a decision pretty soon on Playland Amusement Park. Now, the state has closed it by state law, so we couldn't open it if we wanted to, but we have to make the first decision. Would we open it if we're given the authority to do it? And we're going to have to look at that very carefully. Everybody who follows us knows how much I love Playland. We have many public policy issues about Playland that are out there in the arena, but we have to be intelligent and smart. And it would be far worse for us to open up a facility, not be able to maintain it, find out that the virus spread, and God forbid there were more deaths because of our actions. So we're going to try to make prudent actions. We'll make a decision on Playland this week. We'll announce it as soon as we've made it. There is some good news that has nothing to do with the coronavirus. We want to congratulate and thank Congresswoman Nita Lowey, who was able to announce a significant amount of money in federal grants for the New York Metropolitan Transit Authority and the New Jersey Transit. And within that is $30 million for the MTA Penn Station Access Project. You probably have no idea what that is. What the Penn Station Access Project is, it will allow Metro North trains from the New Haven line ultimately to go into Penn Station, which is on the west side of Manhattan. Currently, if you get on a commuter train anywhere in Westchester County, whether it's the New Haven line along the Sound Shore, the Harlem line, which goes right up the middle of the county, right through Mount Kisco, or the Hudson line, which goes along the coast, all three of those train routes go into Grand Central Station. It's a wonderful situation, great. If you have an office on the west side of Manhattan, going into Grand Central is great, but it's not as great as if you could go into Penn Station. That would be more advantageous. There was a year when I had officed down on the west side of town, and it took me an additional commute to get from Grand Central to where my offices were. So the governor has authorized, there's been some agreements to open up an area of track along the eastern side of the county that would allow commuter trains, once they're back in business, to go into Penn Station, allowing Westchester residents access to both Penn Station on the west side of town and Grand Central Station on the east side of town. That project's going to take a couple of years, but more importantly, it's going to take money, and $30 million announced by Nita Lowey today is a major step in that direction. So we're very grateful. Now, we understand that opening up this particular project will only open up west side access to the eastern side of Westchester County, the New Haven line. But we ain't done with that. We're looking right now, if we can get the New Haven line done, we're going to work on the Hudson line and the Harlem line. It's a little trickier with those lines because of the track connections into the city, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure that every Westchester resident ultimately has a chance to commute. It may take longer than I have in office, but we're going to try to put ourselves in the right direction. And at some point in time, if not me, some future county executive will be able to announce with great fanfare that we have accomplished that mission for our commuters. And I just want to close my formal comments. This is Memorial Day weekend, the beginning of Memorial Day weekend. We had a small, respectful event at Lasden Park earlier today. I was with some of the veterans and Boy Scouts in Valhalla's American Legion Post 1038. We're socially separated. We put flags on the graves of some of the honored veterans. As we look across the next few days, there will be certain small events in a number of communities that will honor their veterans. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to enjoy the great Memorial Day parades. I was in the Mount Kisco parade here 2 years ago that came right down in front of us here, right to the heart of Mount Kisco, where we had a terrific ceremony in front of their monument. And many of the other communities that have Memorial Day parades, that isn't possible this year because of the social issues that involve the pandemic. But there are going to be a variety of services. But I think it's important for every person who may see this, and you can share this with folks who haven't seen this video. Memorial Day is set aside once a year for us to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. But that's not the only day of the year that we have to make a point of honoring our veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We have Veterans Day in November to honor all veterans. We have Flag Day for the symbolism of what the flag means for us in June. There's an Armed Forces Day that recently passed. There are other days of patriotic importance, July 4th coming up in Independence Day. But any day you're here in this beautiful village of Mount Kisco, this gorgeous downtown area with a tremendous library, the village hall, and you walk across the brook into the shopping district of Mount Kisco, you have a monument sitting a few hundred feet from where I am. And you should walk by there and you should look at the names of people, those people that left this village and went to Korea. Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, all of the different battles of that war. Those who went to Vietnam, to Quang Tri, to Hue, who were in the Mekong Delta. Those who fought in World War II and were in island hopping in the South Pacific, Iwo Jima, ultimately Okinawa. Those who were in Europe and Normandy in the Battle of the Bulge. Those who were in World War I, like my grandfather was in World War I and were in battles in France. All the way back to those who were Civil War veterans who left their farms here in this area to fight for certain principles that our country stands for. And those that are on those monuments that died, they gave up their life. And they were almost always young men and women who died at age 20, age 22, long before they had any of the multiple joys that those of us who've lived long enough had. The joy of growing older, graduating, education, being married, having children, watching your sports team win a World Series. If you're a Yankee fan, you've had that a lot. If you're a Met fan, you've had it very little. But there's still an excitement. There's an excitement to life. And that's what they gave up. And that's why their names are on those monuments. And if we can't celebrate it fully today, that doesn't stop you and me from going to the town square of our town or the city corridors of our city, and going up to that monument, taking a few minutes of time. The malls are basically closed. The backyard barbecues aren't going to have 150 people as you've had in the past. You can find a half an hour to park your car, walk over to the monuments in Mount Kisco, in Yorktown, in Portchester, in Hastings, in Yonkers, in Peekskill, in any one of our communities, and look at those names and understand that, like you and I, they were once people who were alive, like you and I, with the same human needs, and they sacrificed their life for the freedoms that you and I this day enjoy. That's what Memorial Day is. Yes, there's barbecues, parades, fun, fireworks, but it's about a human sacrifice that we honor and we can't ever forget. And that is the weekend that we're heading for. So with that, I'll take whatever questions we have. Catherine Chaffee, we have any questions? We have no questions. Well, our friends in the press are always welcome to call us. Try to do it before 5 o'clock today because this is Memorial Day weekend. But we're happy to try to answer any questions that are out there. We do know that the governor has put out some information that's going to open the door, hopefully, for some construction work to get started. We think in the Mid-Hudson region, we may have some good news over the next week as we try very hard to be the next region of the state to open up. It's only us in Long Island and the city, so we hope that we'll be able to start moving forward. We hope that we'll get to our retail businesses, these wonderful businesses that we have here in Mojer and Lexington and all the different streets, Main Street here in this village and elsewhere. I'm George Latimer. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Be safe. Enjoy our parks and our beaches if you can. But if you don't, be with your family. And do remember what I've said. Take a few minutes. Go to those Memorial Day monuments and remember the sacrifice these folks have made. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe this weekend.